you ever felt the shock of adrenaline when you hook a bass and battle him into shore? If not, I am here to share my experiences with you so that you yourself can hook a big one. I have been fishing most of my life and it's truly something that I love to do. I've caught many different types of fish from mahi dolphin to small brim behind my house. Out of all the fish I've caught, I believe that bass fishing is probably my favorite. Fishing takes a lot of patience, but also a lot of knowledge. There are many variables when it comes to catching bass, but the most important ones I'd like to cover with you are your gear, your technique, and the location. You'll need the right gear and setup in order to hook your first bass. When it comes to bass fishing, you will want the right size hook and line. The ideal hooks are a little bit bigger and a little bit more concave than your average hook in order to snag the bass right on his lip. Hence the term a lot of people like to use, ripping lips. Bass tend to fight back pretty tough at times, so the right hook is crucial to ensure he doesn't get away. Now that we've covered the hook, we want to make sure that the line is up to par. Fishing line is measured by test, which tells you how much resistance in pounds your line can take before breaking. Bass usually range between 2 to 8 pounds, but there will always be that big boy out there somewhere. I like to use a 12-pound test that's dimmed a little bit green to blend into the water. You can also use braided line, which is just string braided together, which is also pretty good to use. Although you may have the right gear to reel in one, you have to know how to use it. Rubber worms are probably my favorite thing to use when catching bass. They work about 9 out of 10 times whenever I go out fishing. But using a rubber worm, you have to think how a real worm would look underwater. Try to imitate a real worm and let the worm sink to the very bottom and let it sit for a minute. If the bass hasn't hit it by then, I reel it in very slowly and skim it across the lake or pond bottom. By doing this, I can cover a lot of ground and make it look similar to a real worm would look like. This fools bass into eating it, and let's just say, let the battle begin. There are many other types of baits used to catch bass, such as spinner and crankbaits. These baits catch bass because they look like weak-injured fish that could be prey to generally any larger fish. Now that we have the technique down, let's look into where we should cast it. If it is possible to find a fish bed, that will be in your best interest. I say this because a fish bed is basically like a community of fish where they like to breed. A fish bed looks like maybe like a little craters around the shore of any general vegetation or anything like that. The fish beds are usually in the shallows. This is ideal for catching bass because the bass usually hunt their prey in these areas. If you can't find a fish bed, your next best option would be some sort of structure like vegetation or even some type of drain. Fish like the structure because it is safer for them, so that's why bass will be looking for some prey in those areas, so your location is ideal to catching bass. Now that you know some of the important aspects of fishing, such as gear, technique, and location, I hope you go out there and hook one for yourself. I enjoy fishing because it's very relaxing, fun, and though it does take a lot of patience at times, it is very rewarding when you finally reel one in. I like to think that I would have eaten for the night whenever I catch a fish. They say that if you give a man a fish, he can eat for one day, but if you teach a man to fish, he can eat for a lifetime.
There you go.
Yeah, I gotta use that visual aid. And then, this is my visual aid right here. This is me and one of my fishing buddies. That's about probably a 5-pound bass. We usually go fishing quite often. And that would be my visual aid.